Eric Berne's Transactional Analysis, TAE, is a psychological theory that focuses on understanding human behavior, communication, and relationships. It divides interpersonal interactions into three ego states: parent, adult, and child. Let's analyze the book Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn from the perspective of transactional analysis. A. Parent ego state. The parent ego state in transactional analysis represents the collection of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that an individual has learned from authority figures such as parents, caregivers, and societal influences. It can be divided into two aspects: nurturing parent and critical parent. 1. Nurturing parent. In Gone Girl, the nurturing parent aspects are evident in characters who display caring, comforting, and protective behaviors similar to those of a loving parent. Amy Dunne's parents, for example, have written a series of children's books about a character named Amazing Amy. These books depict an idealized version of their real daughter's life, creating expectations and comparisons that shape Amy's self-perception and behaviors. Her mother's overbearing tendencies and her father's constant attempts to appease her contribute to her internalized nurturing parent voice that seeks validation and perfection. 2. Critical parent. The critical parent aspect involves judgmental and controlling attitudes that individuals internalize from authority figures. In Gone Girl, Nick Dunne's interactions with his father exhibit the critical parent aspect. Nick resents his father's authoritative and condescending nature, which leads to his rebellious behavior. This critical parent influence affects Nick's self-esteem and contributes to his skepticism of authority figures. The media's portrayal of Nick and the public's judgmental attitude toward him also represent the critical parent. The public's tendency to vilify Nick based on incomplete information illustrates how societal norms and collective judgments can shape individuals' critical parent ego state. Moreover, the media's portrayal of the cool girl archetype influences Amy's behavior. This stereotype represents a societal expectation for women to conform to certain behaviors and attitudes to please men. Amy's internalized critical parent aspect compels her to adopt this persona, which later becomes a source of frustration and manipulation in her relationship with Nick. The adult ego state. The adult ego state in transactional analysis represents rational thinking, objective analysis, and decision-making based on information and facts. It is the state where individuals respond to the here and now reality without being influenced by emotional or irrational factors. In Gone Girl, several instances showcase characters operating from their adult ego state. 1. Detective work. Throughout the novel, the detectives and investigators such as Detective Rhonda Boney and Officer Jim Gilpin exemplify the adult ego state. They gather evidence, analyze clues, and make rational deductions to solve the mystery of Amy's disappearance. Their focus on facts and logical reasoning reflects their adult ego state functioning. 2. Nick's journalism. Nick Dunne's role as a journalist also highlights the adult ego state. As he tries to navigate the media frenzy in the investigation, he relies on his critical thinking and analytical skills. He searches for evidence, questions witnesses, and examines the situation from a rational standpoint. His adult ego state is particularly evident when he tries to protect his image and make strategic decisions. 3. Rational responses. In various instances, characters respond rationally to unexpected events. For example, when Amy leaves a series of clues leading Nick to her hidden money, he engages in a rational thought process to understand her motives and plan his next steps. Similarly, the police officers analyze evidence and formulate hypotheses based on logical reasoning. disregarding emotional bias. 4. Nick's interrogation. When Nick is interrogated by the police, he attempts to communicate from his adult ego state. He provides logical explanations, discusses evidence, and tries to present himself as a cooperative and rational individual. This stands in contrast to his interactions with his parents, where he often reverts to child or parent ego states due to the dynamics of their relationship. 5. Amy's manipulation. Amy Dunne's manipulation in Gone Girl is a central theme of the novel and serves as a complex and intriguing element of story. Her manipulation is multifaceted, involving psychological tactics, careful planning, and the exploitation of societal norms and expectations. Here's a closer look at Amy's manipulation. Framing Nick for her disappearance. One of the most significant examples of Amy's manipulation is when she stages her own disappearance and frames her husband, Nick Dunne, for her apparent murder. She meticulously plans every detail, leaving behind a trail of clues that implicate Nick. This manipulation capitalizes on Nick's public image, societal biases, and the media's tendency to sensationalize stories. By portraying Nick as the villain, Amy manipulates public perception and garners sympathy for herself, creating a false persona. Amy creates the facade of the cool girl persona to manipulate Nick and maintain his affection. She pretends to be easygoing, carefree, and understanding, molding herself into the woman she believes Nick desires. This calculated act is designed to make Nick fall in love with her and reinforce his dependence on her. Using the media. Amy's manipulation extends to manipulating the media. She crafts a narrative of a devoted husband who has wronged her, manipulating public opinion to further her cause. By leveraging the media's tendency to portray sensationalized stories, she shapes public perception and ensures Nick's predicament becomes a national spectacle. Journal entries and diary. Amy's manipulation is evident in the way she controls the narrative through her carefully written journal entries. She chronicles her version of events, portraying herself as a victim of Nick's emotional neglect and abuse. These entries are designed to provide a twisted justification for her actions, further manipulating the reader's and characters' perspectives. Emotional manipulation. Amy employs emotional manipulation as well, playing on Nick's guilt, fear, and love. She uses guilt to keep Nick compliant, threatens his reputation to make him cooperate, and uses their shared history to maintain his emotional attachment to her, controlling Nick's actions. Even after revealing her alive status and her elaborate scheme, Amy continues to manipulate Nick by threatening to reveal his complicity in her manipulation to the police. She uses his fear of being implicated in her disappearance as leverage to maintain control over him. Manipulating her parents. Amy's manipulation also extends to her parents. She exploits their emotions and guilt, trips them into complying with her demands. Her ability to manipulate her parents further highlights her skilled manipulation tactics. In summary, Amy's manipulation in Gone Girl is a multi-layered and intricate web of psychological tactics, strategic planning, and exploitation of societal norms. Her actions reveal a deeply calculated and emotionally complex character who uses her skills to control those around her, showcasing the power of manipulation in shaping the story's events and character dynamics. See child ego state. The child ego state in transactional analysis represents an individual's emotional and instinctual responses based on past experiences and feelings. It's divided into two aspects: the free child and the adapted child. Here's how the child ego state is portrayed in the novel. 1. Free child. The free child aspect of the child ego state encompasses spontaneous emotions, creativity, and genuine feelings. In Gone Girl, characters' free child aspects often emerge in moments of vulnerability and authenticity. Nick Dunne's moments of vulnerability and honesty, such as confessing his affair to his sister, reflect his free child. He exposes his true feelings, allowing himself to be emotionally genuine. Amy Dunne's entries in her diary reveal her unfiltered thoughts and emotions, particularly her resentment, fears, and desires. These glimpses into her free child aspect offer insights into her true feelings. 2. Adapted child. The adapted child aspect involves learned behaviors and responses to external expectations. Characters' adapted child aspects are influenced by societal norms, family dynamics, and personal history. Amy Dunne's transformation into the cool girl archetype represents her adapted child. She adopts this role to please Nick and conform to his desires, suppressing her own authentic feelings and preferences. Nick's compliance with societal expectations and his role as the good husband is an example of his adapted child. He conforms to external norms and behaves in ways he believes are expected of him, even if it's not in line with his true feelings. D.C. Collins' obsession with Amy and his attempts to control her are rooted in his adapted child. His actions are driven by a deep-seated need to recreate a past version of Amy he idealized, reflecting his inability to adapt to reality. D. Complementary and cross transactions. 1. Complementary transactions. Complementary transactions occur when the ego state of one person receives a response that is expected or sought from the ego state of another person. In Gone Girl, several instances of complementary transactions can be observed. 2. Nick and Amy's relationship. In the beginning of their relationship, Nick and Amy engage in complementary transactions. Amy's cool girl persona and Nick's attentive behavior fulfill each other's expectations. Amy presents herself as the ideal woman Nick desires, and Nick's admiration reinforces her sense of control. 3. Media and public reaction. The media's focus on Nick as the prime suspect and the public's judgment of him represent complementary transactions. The media sensationalizes Nick's involvement, and the public responds with criticism and condemnation, reinforcing each other's perspectives. 4. Detectives' interactions. The interactions between detectives and suspects often involve complementary transactions. The detectives ask questions from their adult ego state, seeking logical answers, while suspects respond from their child or parent ego states. This interaction pattern helps establish the power dynamic between the interrogators and the interrogated. 5. Crossed transactions. Cross transactions occur when the ego state of one person elicits a response from an unexpected or inappropriate ego state of another person. In Gone Girl, several instances of cross transactions can be observed. 6. Nick's interactions with the media. When Nick interacts with the media, he often responds from his adult ego state, seeking to provide rational explanations. However, the media frequently responds from their critical parent ego state, sensationalizing the situation and creating cross-transactions that lead to frustration and misunderstanding. 7. Amy's manipulation of Nick. Amy often creates cross-transactions in her manipulation of Nick. She leads him to expect one response from her free child ego state love, affection, but then responds from her critical parent or adapted child ego state, withholding affection, controlling behavior. This inconsistency creates confusion, and keeps Nick off. 8. Amy's diary entries. Amy's diary entries often create cross-transactions. She presents a carefully curated image of herself to Nick in her diary, but her actual behaviors and actions reflect a different persona. The crossed transactions between her projected self and her true self contribute to the tension and the unfolding of the plot. In conclusion, the concepts of complementary and cross transactions in Gone Girl highlight the complexities of communication and relationships. The characters' interactions often involve these transactional dynamics, leading to misunderstandings, manipulation, and the overall psychological depth of the story. Transactional analysis provides a lens through which we can better understand how characters' ego states influence their interactions and shape the narrative. A. Games and rackets. 1. Games. In transactional analysis, games are repetitive patterns of interactions that individuals engage in to fulfill unconscious emotional needs. These patterns often lead to negative outcomes and can perpetuate unhealthy dynamics. In Gone Girl, several characters play psychological games that contribute to the intricate plot. 2. Nick and Amy's power struggle. Nick and Amy engage in a power struggle that can be seen as a psychological game. Amy's disappearance, framing Nick, and her manipulation tactics form a twisted game where she exerts control over Nick's actions and emotions. Nick's attempts to uncover the truth and navigate his relationship with Amy are part of a game that reflects their toxic dynamic. 3. Public perception and Nick's performance. Nick becomes aware of the media and public's perception of him and his role in Amy's disappearance. He begins to perform for the public, engaging in behaviors that he believes will make him appear more sympathetic or innocent. This game of image management and manipulation is driven by the need to control public opinion. 4. Rackets. Rackets are the emotional and behavioral patterns individuals engage in to receive secondary gains, such as attention, sympathy, or justification for their actions. In Gone Girl, several characters display racket behaviors. 5. Amy's cool girl racket. Amy's adoption of the cool girl persona can be seen as a racket. She presents herself as the ideal woman to gain Nick's affection and to manipulate him into complying with her desires. Her behaviors are designed to elicit positive responses from Nick and society, allowing her to secure the emotional control she seeks. 6. Media sensationalism. The media's tendency to sensationalize events and portray Nick as a villain can be considered a racket. The media benefits from creating a scandalous narrative that attracts attention, viewership, and ratings. Their portrayal of Nick as the antagonist provides them with the secondary gains they seek. 7. Amy's manipulation of her parents. Amy manipulates her parents by leveraging their guilt and emotional vulnerabilities. She plays the role of the victim, using their remorse and sense of responsibility to extract financial support and sympathy. This racket allows Amy to maintain control over them and secure her own comfort. F. Life positions. Life positions in transactional analysis refer to an individual's fundamental beliefs about themselves and others, which influence their interactions and behaviors. There are 4 life positions. I'm okay. You're okay. I'm okay. You're okay. I'm okay. You're okay. I'm okay. You're not ok. You're okay and I'm not ok. Here's how these life positions can be observed in the novel. 1. Amy's I'm okay. You're not okay position. Amy Dunne's life position can often be interpreted as I'm okay. You're not okay. She initially presents herself as the ideal woman, the cool girl, while simultaneously viewing others, particularly Nick, as inferior. She sees herself as superior due to her intelligence and manipulative abilities. Her actions, including her meticulous framing of Nick and manipulation of his emotions, reflect her belief that she is in control while others are not. 2. Nick's shift in life positions. Nick Dunne's life position undergoes shifts as the story unfolds. In the beginning, he seems to adopt an "I'm okay, you're not okay" position due to his resentment towards his father and his dissatisfaction with his life. However, as he becomes entangled in Amy's manipulations and the public scrutiny, his position shifts to "I'm not okay, you're okay." He begins to conform to societal expectations and public opinions to salvage his reputation, showing a temporary shift in his self-perception. 3. Public's judgment. The public's judgmental attitude towards Nick reflects an "I'm okay, you're not okay" life position on their part. They perceive Nick as guilty without proper evidence, implying their superiority in making judgments. This life position is fueled by their belief that they are in a position of authority to pass judgment on others. 4. Media's sensationalism. The media's role in sensationalizing the case and exploiting the personal lives of Nick and Amy aligns with the "I'm not okay, you're okay" life position. They thrive on creating scandals and exposing others' vulnerabilities to gain attention and profit. In conclusion, Gone, Girl can be analyzed through the lens of transactional analysis to understand the complex interpersonal dynamics and psychological motivations of the characters. The book showcases the intricate interplay of ego states, games, and life positions, highlighting how each character's upbringing and experiences influence their behavior and choices.